I think if it can be a win-win for all of us, then I recommend that we go down this path and further evaluate it. And I think what we need to do is pull a group of folks together from city and here to say, what does the master business plan look like? And what are the financials associated with the moving pieces on the table? And then I also think we need to consider putting together the governing board for the CTE high school sooner than later, so that they can have a hand in this decision as well, regardless of where it goes and how we map it. Because I think they can help shape too. And I also agree that we want to get ahead of the St. Paul's and not be just catching the football in the end zone, and then what do we do next? So I'd rather not be waiting for the outcome, but be part of the solution. So I think that's true. I think that's good. And then I think there's just some details we'll need to think about. It's because, you know, Tracy Richter has said we can never really live in the city with just 4 high schools. So how do we deal with capacity? And
and I stand firm on that.
Yeah.
That's one of the things
and that's
that
kind
I've said with the team. And I know that there's that squeeze to put us into 4.
right.
We cannot squeeze into 4 unless this board and the city wants very large high schools.
Well, and
First of all, and unless you're gonna build a high school that accomplishes that, because even the CTE school, we're looking at targeting somewhere 1,200 to 1,400 students.
Right.
And so if you do the math around all of that, Maury exceeds capacity, Granby at or exceeds capacity, and Norview High School the same thing.
Yeah.
So we can't accomplish it within 4 high schools, and so that has to be one of those stipulations on the
Sure.
table.
Sure.
What do we do to take care of a solid 5th high school, which for right now, wherever that is, whether it's the 5th high school is Booker T, or the 5th high school is Lake Taylor, whatever it is, that still has to be there, because our data show very clearly that we are a 5 high school community, not a 4.
Yeah, so we just have to be mindful of the compression, by all means. And then what does that mean for Lake Taylor Middle? I'm just kind of saying the out louds that we just don't know yet today.
Yeah.
I think this could bring us closer to the city with some joint planning. And this would help bridge, I think, the relationship and the trust. And I think that we can't do this without looking at greater stipulations on capital improvements like Maury High School too. So let's say we move forward and do BTW, CTE, and we do a third. So philanthropy, city, and state. And we come up with I'm making it up, the 90 million to at some point in the near future build a school, not a hospital, a school.
Well, we could combine it with a hospital.
Well, we could, that would be great.
Have the health.
A school-based health
science.
center, yeah.
To develop the physical plant that would house the programming, which we know that you don't need that necessarily to have, I get that. And then we've got to take into account sea level rise and how we address that, by all means, with Booker T. Washington being where it is. And then Maury. So how do we look at construction, not just, I think we have a few pieces of the puzzle that we need to throw in here as well, aside from just the maintenance capital, right?
And let me throw one other in. People grasp the capital because you can see it. You know, when bricks and mortar are out there, folks feel like they see their investment. There will be costs associated with standing up a comprehensive CTE school and the operational aspect. You know, you talk about the governance structure, and absolutely, that's a place, again, where we talk about what's the philanthropic foundational support that will help with that infrastructure going forward and allow us to maintain equipment and supplies and all that, so we don't ever get behind the curve on that. But there are going to be associated operating costs.
Sure.
For the school, regardless of the location, and those are some dollars that we've got to talk about going forward, because we've got to do some equipment and program upgrades as part of this work. There are certain things that we're going to need, and it can't be an either-or situation.
Yeah.
It can't be we invest in the building. Well, we're the same funding source, we've got to have the money to operate.
Right.
And that's where I think it comes back to the city determining what's the business opportunity of the Lake Taylor property. So what's the end there, right? So that's where I think together planning with them will help us understand how we can achieve successfully both parties' interests that ultimately help the full community on so many levels and really bring Norfolk forward with career and technical education while adding additional revenue stream through economic development in a corridor that we know is very viable. So I think I like the direction. I really do. I know there are a lot of moving parts, But I think I see lots of opportunities where ultimately the children win, to be perfectly honest, because I think they're going to further their opportunities for great education while working with the city for the end goal that we all have in mind too.